I'm David Measle. I'm the contracted administrator with the Pennsylvania Peer Support Coalition. The coalition was founded to act as the professional organization for peer support specialists here in Pennsylvania. Some of the things we do is provide resources, we do trainings, and we advocate for peer supports. Recently, the state of Pennsylvania received a Transformation Transfer Initiative grant from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration and the National Association of Mental Health Program Directors. With this grant, the state of Pennsylvania partnered with the Pennsylvania Peer Support Coalition, Temple University, Allegheny County, and Delaware County to create a new training for certified peer specialists to work in crisis services. As part of the development of this new training, we did focus groups and surveys of current certified peer specialists working in crisis services already, and county administrators and leadership. One of the things that we did as part of these focus groups and surveys was we also identified certified peer specialists to participate in video interviews that we could use as part of the training. The following videos are the result of those interviews.
The thing I find most satisfying is people come in who are just broken and they no longer have any hope. And so being able to instill some hope back into them and role model recovery for them and seeing them leave with a new hope and a new inspiration is the most rewarding for me.
I find most satisfying something similar to her, but I love making that connection and doing it as quickly as we can is really important. Just letting them know that they are not alone, and a lot of them are surprised by that. They're surprised to find us who are peers who have been through similar situations, and they really identify with that usually pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because clinicians have book learning and they have role playing and they have experienced that way, and plus they've experienced dealing with people who have been in similar situations. However, we have actually been in this situation, so we really get it. And they say, wow, you understand exactly where I am, because we can share pieces of our story if they're willing to listen to that. And it makes them feel better.
Mm-hmm.
It lets them see that they're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the biggest thing is, everybody isolates and they feel alone. So if they find somebody that they can share with that has a similar experience and understanding and frustrations and fears, I think that helps to comfort them.
For me, the most satisfying part is just being able to relate to people when they're going through one of the most difficult times potentially in their lives, and being able to be there for people and support people when they're going through a crisis. A lot of people come in because they're feeling suicidal or because something tragic happened in their lives recently, or they're trying to recover from using drugs and alcohol. And just being able to relate to people and help people when they're at that difficult time in their lives is amazing. I mean, we save lives every single day, and I think it's incredible to be a part of that.
The most satisfying part of my job is the willingness that I have and the importance of knowing that I'm helping somebody. Yes, sometimes when we go on calls, and I'm with the team, and the person is almost like nonverbal, and then from me talking to them for a minute, then they begin to talk. Maybe if I use a little self-disclosure, it makes it more comfortable to open up to talk about what's really going on.
Basically supporting someone to finding their own answers, and being able to support them in managing their situation, whether it's a mental health crisis or a medical crisis.
A lot of times we facilitate groups, and in those groups we do, like, we'll make an assessment of who we have in that group and then decide on what to present in that group. And a lot of times it's the recovery development plan. So we sit down and we, find out, have them write out, like, how to identify the early warning signs, how to
Daily plan.
Yeah, like
What
the
your
daily
daily plan
maintenance
is.
plan, the triggers. Like, you need to identify these things, and then they write them down. And then sometimes we talk about anger. Sometimes we talk about boundaries. We talk about values, and there's always examples I can give of my personal life, how I was this way maybe, but now I'm this way. Like, we talk about communication styles, assertive, passive aggressive, and I admit to them, yes, I was in the aggressive category, and now I'm in the assertive category. And then they'll start asking me questions. Well, how did you do that? How can I do that? So it really sparks a lot of conversation.
Most of the time I'm either going out with the team or I'm doing follow-up calls to make sure the appointments are made, and if they need any assistance or support, that's where the mobile crisis specialist will come in and help them out with their support to get them started in their services, but also helping them help themselves.
I think when I'm talking with someone on the phone who is in a crisis and they're describing the situation of, particularly in relation to a personality disorder, there's the nobody understands, I don't understand why nobody listens to me, and I can honestly say I understand. I can honestly say I've been there, done that. And when I hear that, that kind of like a sigh, kind of like, okay, they believe me. They're, I don't get that, oh, you don't understand, you're just a clinician, or you're a therapist, or you have to say that. I feel like they know that I'm being honest, and it's comfortable to know when somebody understands, and when it doesn't feel forced. But I think for me, when talking with someone and walking them through, and then I usually schedule a follow-up in a couple of days or weeks and see how they're doing and check in on them. And when I see that they have followed through on making an appointment or going to the emergency room if they need to, or coming to the walk-in center, I feel like, great, I helped someone, and I must have said something or did something and showed them that there is hope and there is a way, and here's some steps that you can take. And when I see that they have followed through, I'm obviously doing something right. Honestly, there's not one particular thing, because every day is so different, and all of the staff that work there, including myself, kind of have to go with the flow, depending on what the day is like. So some days I do groups, and the groups can be pretty much on any topic related to people's recovery. I usually try to talk to people and see what they're interested in doing that day. So I might do a group on, different coping skills people can use when they're in crisis. I might do a group that's pertaining specifically to drug and alcohol recovery. I might do a group where we just talk about why people are there, what their crisis is, what kind of services they need. I help people call rehabs. I help people call the Allegheny Link line for housing. Some days I get caseloads, so that means I'm assigned particular people to work with. So I talk to those people, a large portion of the day, check in with them, and work on whatever goals they're trying to work on. I also work on crisis recovery plans with people, which are basically these packets that we have that people fill out to kind of help them plan out what they can do in response to a crisis the next time it occurs, different coping skills they can use, how they can reach out for help. It's basically just a plan of action. But honestly, we just do whatever the program needs for that particular day. So every day is completely different, and we have to kind of be on our toes all the time and just be prepared for anything that comes up, because we might have, an emergency. We might have to focus on one particular person. Sometimes, in the most dire emergencies, we even have to do restraints if somebody is really freaking out. So it just depends on the day, and we all kind of just go with the flow.
In my job, I absolutely feel respected, and I respect my coworkers as well. I have never been looked down upon. I've been called in. There's been three times that somebody's wanted to leave AMA, and they've called me in. They're like, Kim, can you come in and help us? Mm-hmm. Or somebody might be angry because they can't have a cigarette because it's not cigarette break. Mm-hmm. And, we'll come in, they'll call us in, or even we'll go over. Mm-hmm. And, do you want to go out for a walk? Can we go somewhere and talk about this? How about if I help you spend the next 20 minutes doing something and try to redirect that behavior so it doesn't, get more explosive. Mm-hmm. So I really do believe that we are very valued, and they tell us all the time that We're very valued, so that we're a valuable part of the team.
Part of my role as well here in the phone center is to also help to educate the staff about stigma and kind of like point things out if I hear something that is stigma-inducing or inappropriate or could be worded differently. That's also part of our job here as peers, is to be like, hey, maybe you could have said that differently, or maybe saying, oh, that person is so borderline is... There's a just way to frame that, and maybe that is a diagnosis that they have, but maybe they're just having a bad day.
Yeah.
And and maybe it isn't because they're, quote, oh so borderline. Maybe it's just they're having a bad day. So that's part of our job here at Peers as well on the phone center, is to, if we hear something, which isn't often, it's just kind of like, hey, and we share our story as well. So we have our job is to come to work and be triggered. Basically, that's our job. Because that is going to happen.
When someone is upset and they really need someone to talk to, sometimes I'll spend, maybe even hours sitting with that person, talking with them, and just emotionally supporting them and responding to their needs. So some of the staff will send particular people to me when they think that person, would click with me and would benefit from communication with me. Other staff don't necessarily reach out to me as much, and sometimes I have to put the effort into reaching out to people they are working with. So it just depends on the particular staff person and the kind of relationship I have with them.
They come to me for advice. They come to me for someone they think that would benefit from a CPS perspective. We would talk about it, sit down. My clinical director is adamant about having me included. The team is just it's a good cohesiveness with everyone. We all like family, and it's just good. They respect me. They respect me being, even though almost all of them, I say the majority of the team are master level education, and they don't look at their education as being a part, like they're above or better than me. They respect my lived experience more than anything than education.
Some of the skills we use are being genuine. I've never worked at a job where I can be me. And so it's really nice to be able to go into work and be me and be genuine. They know if we're faking. They know if we're telling them a line, So it's really important to tell the truth, to be genuine, and to really listen to what they're saying, because so many people come in and they have nobody to listen to them. Mm-hmm. And so they really want someone just to listen to them, not give them advice. And so I think we are really good at that.
I think active listening is definitely the top
Okay.
skill that I have to use.
And can you go into
because-
that a little bit, what active listening is?
Sure. So not just listening to what the person is saying, but really trying to infer what they mean. Listening for their tone and intonation, paying attention to nonverbal cues as well. So their posture, their facial expression, and just really being in tune with what the person is trying to say. And also, you have to use a lot of motivational interviewing skills.
Mm-hmm.
So, I use a lot of reflections where I basically paraphrase what the person is saying back to them so they know that I'm listening to what they're trying to express.
Okay.
And I also use a lot of questions to try to sort of, lead the person to their own conclusions, to help them figure out how they want to resolve their issue. But obviously, instead of course, we would never feed someone answers or tell them what to do in a particular situation. So I just try to ask the person, to tell me more about what's going on and what they want to do in response to the situation, how they want to take a course of action.
Active listening means always referring back to them, to asking for more information. So tell me more. Sometimes it's good to work on making a connection as far as them feeling more comfortable with you. So that goes back to self-disclosure and how much and how little you feel comfortable with doing it. And empathy is a big one.
I don't talk about what happened to me. I talk about how I got better. And, so I might list a time that, let's see, I thought those people were over there talking about me. And then, I tell them how I had to sit back and rethink this, like, really, they're two 16-year-old boys. Why would they be laughing at you? So, I give examples of things that they can do and how I've done it. But I don't really go into a lot of my background, unless it's really necessary. And I think Linda already touched on that with if you find that someone's really struggling with trusting or being able to share their story, knowing that you can understand what they're saying and what they're going through is a huge help. So basically we want to keep the focus on them. but there are definitely times that we do need to share, and I like to share how I got better.
I think it's a shared experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's being able to say, I understand, and here is an example that makes sense. And then I can, share with them what I went through, the skills that I use for my recovery and things that I do for my recovery, and the fact that, I have this job because I work through recovery and I have these skills, and yes, this can be done.
Mm-hmm.
Some things that I determine on the person in the situation.
Okay.
Through my lived experience, I've experienced a lot of things in my life. One dealing with a drug addiction, mental health diagnosis, and also from ranges from all kinds of things happening in my life.
Right.
And I share that the hope that where I was then and where I am now, that recovery is possible. Oh man, it's a valuable tool. Let the person know that I'm with you. I've been there. You know what I mean? That is probably the key factor sometimes in some people changing their thinking about what they want to do. Committing suicide or something like that. Like, hey, I've been there. I've contemplated suicide. I was able to look back on my life and think about some things that I could do to make myself better, at that point.
For some people, it will give them a moment to pause and to feel more comfortable with you. Other people, for others, it may be more of they may feel like you're trying to lessen their situation, and so you have to be careful about how you disclose and what you disclose, and to keep it to inspire, and give them hope, not to co-vent, if you had a bad day or whatever. That's not really the point of the conversation on the warm line, and being honest with them allows them to feel more comfortable with being honest with you.
Was with the cigarettes. Up here wanted a cigarette. The nurse was not able at that moment to get it for her, and she started getting very loud. And I went over, since we had already had that connection, I went over and I asked her if we could go outside, and I just left her yell. Like, she yelled until she was tired of yelling. And then we were able to sit down and discuss it and discuss how, what she could do instead of yelling and, escalating out of control. Mm-hmm. So it was really good. I mean, they really do respond pretty well to us.
Oh, it looked like a point where it depends on the point of how they would be de-escalated. Mm-hmm. I mean, if they're aggressive, of course the police is involved. Right. Because our safety is the most concern is theirs too. Mm-hmm. And if they become a threat to themselves or other, of course we initiate a 302. Okay. And try to send it to the delegate and get it approved. If it's not approved, then we provide resources. So that's part of the de-escalation. And also this at the same time, we're engaging that person. You know what I mean? To try to redirect them from their thoughts to their current situation.
Okay. There was a little old lady who called, and I mean I don't know if she was little, but a little lady who called, and she was panicking and she couldn't breathe, and the clinicians had tried to talk her through a breathing step, try to get her to calm down, and nothing was working.
Okay.
And so they transferred her to me. They're like, here, I think, maybe you can help her. You're good at this. Let's see if you can help this lady out. So I got her on the phone, and she was panicking, and she was breathing heavy, and she was kind of all over the place, not being able to focus. And I asked her just to take a moment to let me know, what is it? What is she afraid of? Mm-hmm. And I didn't go through, do you want to sit and breathe? Because a lot of times the reaction I get is, no, don't tell me to breathe.
Right.
I think so. And it turned out that what she was looking for was her car keys. And this is in the middle of the night. This is like 9:30, 10:30 at night. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay. So she was really worried about her car keys. She needed her car keys, and she couldn't tell me why. She was just, I need my car keys, and I can't find them, and there's no one to help me, and turns out she was like in her 70s. So what I did is I talked to her on the phone, and I had her describe to me her house as she was walking around it looking for her car keys. Mm-hmm. And it took 45 minutes, but she walked me through her entire house and told me all about the furniture and the pictures on the walls, and I kind of distracted her with everything in her house to find her keys. And eventually we did find her keys. They were on the table next to her phone. And it turned out what she was really afraid of was she wanted to find her car keys because she needed to get to the grocery store in the morning so she could feed her cat. Okay. So I walked her through that, and I've walked other people through panic attacks by using, I Spy, like, describe to me something in your house, let me guess what it is.
Okay.
Instead, we're traditional, okay, let's breathe and count to 5 thing, and that seems to work. And they usually, it's never turned out badly, knock on wood. But usually I've talked people through panic attacks by using descriptions, like describe something in your house for me, and it's like, oh, it's red and it vacuums. And I'm like, okay, well, tell me something else, and kind of have them think outside the box so that it takes them longer for me to figure it out. And even if I do figure it out within 2 guesses, I just have them keep going.
In my other position, I've had situations where de-escalation is where I had to de-escalate somebody, and that was a situation where I was able to take them out of the environment.
Mm-hmm.
We were somewhere where the person, we were at an event and someone really got upset with what was going on. And everybody was yelling and screaming at them, during whatever. And I had a good relationship connection with the person. So I said, let's take a break. Listen to me fix your tie, and let's go to the bathroom, fix your tie. So I fixed their tie, and I gave them a moment away from the situation. And I just spent time listening to them, to what their issues and concerns were. You know, and I was quite happy at the end where the person thanked me.
That would look like if they're suicidal and they had a plan, then the first thing we know, we would ask them, you know, to go down to get to the crisis center to be evaluated.
Okay.
And that would be a 201.
Right.
You know, if they're at the point where they're not willing to comply with that, then of course, you know, a 302. Our motto is we try to be least restrictive.
There was one instance where the call got worse, so what we do here is we get the clinician back on the phone for legality reasons. We get them back on the phone, and they can listen in while we talk, or they can take over the phone call to help. And in those instances, I've sent out a mobile team to someone because I didn't feel right, something wasn't right, like I talked them through everything and I still didn't, and they're like, okay, I'm going to be fine. And my gut was just like, no, something's not right. So I talked to the doc on staff and got their okay to send a mobile team out to check on the person.
Okay.
And the person did end up going to the ER.
Yes, it is very stressful at times. Those times for me is if I feel like there's really not a whole lot I can do. And you just see someone so broken and so torn and hopeless. And that does, you know, I found myself several times coming home and just feeling emotionally drained. And the ways that I deal with that is throughout my recovery journey, I made a positivity binder. And in there are my diploma from high school, my diploma from college, letters of recommendations, cards that are very important to me, sayings that really inspire me to go on. So that has become a very important part of my recovery. I have a daughter who is also a peer specialist, so we get to talk. And if it's really, really not settling down or I'm still feeling really drained, I will talk to my psychiatrist and counselor. And I can give an example of when I was really, really drained. I was working with an individual who I just absolutely admired. And I had to take her to the Water Street mission because she was homeless. And I cried that whole weekend because it just hurt so bad that an individual with such a big heart and so much potential is living in a shelter. So that was very hard on me, and it took me a couple of days to process that and be able to go back with, a new sense of energy. So, yeah.
My opinion is, I'll go back to this first. My opinion is that I'm getting paid to be me. Back to what Kim said before. I have found no job in all these years of my life where I get paid to be me. I walk in and I am real. I am honest, I am open, and I'm free to discuss what anybody needs to. I have good boundaries, don't get me wrong, but I feel confident and happy, and I love these people genuinely, and I think they see that. So most of the time I can go home and not be stressed. The times that I am are similar to Kim. It's where people are in situations that are so desperate, and I want to be able to fix it, and I know I can't.
Yeah.
So the only thing I can do is make them feel loved and safe and supported. The homeless folks just are heartbreaking, and we have so many of them, and they're in all different ages and frames of mind. But I can tell if I'm not doing a good job if I go home and my husband says something and I snap, and then I have to stop and say, I need about 15 minutes or a half hour to ground myself here. I'm had a rough day. I didn't think that I was. I apologize. And then I usually do something mind-numbing for a bit, like play solitaire on the computer or look through Facebook. And that's part of how I reground. I may color in my books. I may cook. I may do whatever. But those are my coping skills. They're things that I've done. I put on music. I love to listen to music. That helps to just back me down to someplace I can start again. It doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. So, we just need to be prepared. I will call Kim because I don't have, anybody right now. I was seeing a therapist, but I stopped that for a while now. So I call Kim and I bounce it off her. I'm like, what do you think about this? Am I over exaggerating or what? And then she helps that, So, yeah, we have resources.
It's not really a stress level because, if I told my story, man, it's like I shouldn't be here right now.
Right.
So nothing surprise me anymore.
Okay.
Because I've lived that lifestyle where, that I can relate. And it doesn't affect me because I know where I'm at today.
Okay.
And I'm thankful and I'm blessed that I'm where I'm at. So it just gives me more enthusiasm to help other people.
Okay.
And there is a fine line in when say when a person is not complying, then their process is their process. You know what I mean? I tried,
Right.
So I don't know. I just don't take it home. Yeah.
One thing that I do while I'm at work, if I can't leave, if I'm on a call that's extremely stressful, it starts to trigger me because that happens. I mean, that is like I was telling the other man that part of my job is to be triggered. I've set myself up to be triggered on a daily basis. So I have skills in place that I use, such as if I can't get off the phone, I go in the bathroom and I run cold water over my hands and kind of distract as well as I can while I'm still on the phone because we can't end phone calls here. So if it's a triggering call where it's not suicidal, but it's deeply triggering because it becomes personal, because it's just like a thing, some things just become personal, and sometimes there's nothing much you can do about it, except for kind of get through that moment. So I'll either go in the bathroom, or we have headsets, they're mobile, so I can move. So I can go in the bathroom and I'll wash my hands and, count bubbles as they're running over my hands, or I'll color. I have a coloring book and crayons on my desk. I've got a slinky, anything tactile that I can get busy with my hands. And when the call is finished, I will find a supervisor and kind of debrief from the call, or I have peers that are here. I can go to them and say, okay, I really need some supervision. I need to talk about this. And so we'll talk about it. I have friends in the community that I call. I have a huge support system here. So if I'm feeling stressed and I need a break or I need to decompress after a call, I can go find someone.
Okay.
As well as if I need time off, I have no problem calling and saying I need a break.
Mm-hmm.
And I will take my time off. I mean, we have time off to take, and I take it. I'm a single mother of 2 kids, so I can't afford to
Right.
not take care of my health. And my health, on the top of my health is my mental health, and then there's the plethora of medical things.
Mm-hmm.
But for mental health, if I'm feeling overstressed, and I've tried everything, all my distraction techniques, all my self-care, I've tried all the things that I need to do, up to and including maybe getting back on some medication if I need to, just to get back to the point where I can support my recovery with my skills.
Mm-hmm.
I will.
Sure. I mean, we work as a team, so we all try to make sure that we handle situations together, which I think is really important. It's not just one-on-one. You know, it's not just one person getting screamed at. We all kind of respond to intense situations when they come up. But I also do a lot of self-care. I really like going to the gym. I make sure I get 8 hours of sleep. I eat really healthy food.
Okay.
Things like that. I like doing yoga. So I just make sure that I'm doing stuff to take care of myself when I'm outside of work so that when I come in, I'm giving 100%. But everyone has different ways of coping with stressors. Those are just some of the things that work for me.
It's stressful because it's unpredictable. You know, some days things work out. The day gets planned. But the days that get stressful are the days that the predictable becomes unpredictable. Like today with the weather, or I've had plans or I go out to see somebody, and they were doing well yesterday, but today it just did not work out. Or the phone calls on the warm line. Sometimes it'll work. Sometimes I'm just not able to make the connection with the person. That's what's important for me when someone calls me on the warm line.
Thanks for watching our videos. I hope you found them informative and insightful. Again, I'd like to thank our partners at SAMHSA and NASBID, as well as our friends at the Temple Collaborative on Community Inclusion. I'd also like to thank the state of Pennsylvania and the Office of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. If you're interested in this training and you want to bring it to your community, whether you live in Pennsylvania or not, you can contact the coalition at info@PaPSC.org. You can also visit our website at www.papsc.org, or you can visit the Collaborative's website at tucollaborative.org. Again, I thank you for watching.